Let's take a look at a few builds I'm considering for the upcoming Strange Terrain Grandmaster Nightfall. I haven't settled on any one of these in particular for team-based play yet, but I think that they're all potential options. This first build is based on one that I made a video on a few months ago now. It's a double hand cannon build, and I really like this build just generally speaking, so I'd be excited to use it again this week. It features the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver with Unstoppable, Ariana's Vow, which has shield-piercing ammunition. That's for the barrier champions. So basically, I've got both champion types in Strange Terrain covered, Unstoppables and barrier. For my heavy, I love this Fine Memorial. It's got shield disorient on it, energy match shield explosions disorient nearby combatants and the combatant itself. So there are a number of arc-shielded knights throughout the strike that I think this will be helpful for. Just breaking shields, taking care of an area for a few seconds, or letting us focus on DPSing a bunch of ads and or the main knight. In terms of armor, Wormhusk, I'm like addicted to this thing. I can't get away from it. So I'm going to be running this with machine gun ammo finder, special ammo finder, and a discipline mod. Enhanced hand cannon loader with high energy fire on my arms. Point here is that I'm going to get a 2-for-1 here with enhanced hand cannon loader. It's going to impact both my kinetic and my energy weapons. Righteous Vest, hand cannon reserves, again a double dip there. Counter charge, which I really enjoyed using this week to get charged with light. Also have taking charge as my teammates and I will be making some orbs I think throughout this. Hand cannon scavenger and global reach that pairs with my kinetic here because this will create worm mine cells to help clear some ads and just do damage to rooms in general. And then finally hive barrier, oppressive darkness, and special finisher on my cloak. As usual, bottom tree Night Stalker on this one. This next build is another one that I messed around with a few months ago in Strange Terrain. It's a double special build. I've tweaked it a little bit from last time, but it has Mountaintop now paired with Ariana's and a Fine Memorial. The big thing here is that this takes away unstoppable rounds from my arsenal. So I would rely on my teammates to be staggering unstoppable champions. There is a way to do this solo. It requires a class change, and I'll talk about that shortly. In terms of the armor, Wormhusk stays the same. Now on my arms, I've put on Hive Invigoration to get my dodge back more frequently just because I had the slot available. Because I've switched to Enhanced Grenade Launcher Loader and Hand Cannon Loader now on the arms. And the reason I've done that, I prioritized Grenade Launcher instead of Hand Cannon is because Ariana's, I have the Catalyst, so it has the built-in auto reload. So it shouldn't be as big of an issue for me if I'm playing smart. On my chest now, I've gone to hand cannon reserves with counter charge. I still have high energy fire. It's just now on my chest. I had a couple of slots available, so I've put on Boss Resist. Nokris is going to do solar damage, which is going to be one of the modifiers, increased solar damage, so I put that on. On my legs now, I've added Grenade Launcher Scavenger. I've paired that with Hand Cannon Scavenger and Shield Break Charge. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is using a Fine Memorial to break shields, disorient enemies, and then defeat them with either Mountaintop or Ariana's. And that's going to go for really any build that features this weapon here. I'm not using heavy to take those guys down permanently. Just break shields, get charged with light, disorient. And then the cloak essentially stays the same. I don't think I've changed anything here. Solar damage resistance, again, that's solar damage modifier. Oppressive darkness, special finisher, hive barrier. Special finisher important because I will be looking for ammo. One thing you might consider doing here, it doesn't really work for my build though, would be to add on reactive pulse for the finisher bulwark, secondary perk which gives you that overshield. It's been helpful this past week in Lake of Shadows. Because my build here is very hand cannon and grenade launcher centric, I'm not using that. It is something to keep in mind though. And I'm still running bottom tree Night Stalker. Now I mentioned that there is a way to get unstoppable on this build, and that would be to run middle tree Gunslinger, wave 1,000 cuts, and you could then pair that with some of these artifact perks such as Inferno Whip, strong against unstoppable champions, and if I was doing that, I'd probably consider running Solar Plexus as well. So that's going to change the build a little bit because you need to slot these on armor, but it is a way that you can stagger and deal with unstoppable champions without a weapon that has unstoppable rounds. That's going to be a call you have to make with your fire team. If you're doing it solo, that's something to think about. I probably won't do that because I'll have my teammates that are running some kind of unstoppable rounds weapon. Okay, last build idea, and like I said, I'm not settled on any one of these just yet, but this last one is based on a build that I used this week for Lake of Shadows. Really like using it. I think it's possible to use in Strange Terrain, but it's going to require coordination with your teammates, and I'll explain why. Here we've got IZANAGI paired with this Ikelos SMG. This has got Disruption Break, so when you break a barrier champion shield, that enemy is going to become more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. So the idea would be break the shield with this weapon to get the damage buff, use IZANAGI to take him out. This requires coordination with your teammates because this weapon needs to be the one that breaks the barrier champion shield. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to coordinate. I've put a sword here as well because we had such great success sorting unstoppable champions this past week that it seems like it might be something to try this week as well. Major spec on this because the champions are characterized as majors in the game. Now for the armor. Wormhusk, I've got sword ammo finder on here now. Makes sense because I'm using a sword. I've switched over to enhanced sniper rifle loader on my arms. I've added hive armaments to get some heavy ammo for defeating hive enemies with grenades. Now I've put on reactive pulse. I want that powerful overshield while performing your finisher. That's the secondary perk of reactive pulse. It's called finisher bulwark. It's right there on the bottom. That's important because I suspect that we'll be sorting, and then finishing champions. High energy fire now moves to the legs, and I've got sniper rifle scavenger on to go with Izzy. And on the cloak, I have basically the same thing I've had this entire time. Solar damage resistance, oppressive darkness, special finisher, let's get some ammo, and hive barrier. I'm still running bottom tree Night Stalker. So the big thing here is that I don't have any solar in this build, which means I am going to be reliant on my teammates to break any solar shields, and there are some in the strike. So that's something to think about. You want to pair your elements appropriately. Those are the 3 builds I'm thinking about for this week. I guess maybe kind of 3+ because I gave you a variation here or there. We'll see what happens when the strike actually drops. I'll see you next time.